Good morning, my friends. Daniel Miller here. How is everybody doing? I welcome you all to our video gaming industry news bulletin for today, the 23rd of September of 2019. I hope you had a very good weekend. I certainly enjoyed my gameplay of Call of Duty Modern Warfare, which indeed was offered to us as open beta this weekend. It was a truly enjoyable experience. I was hammering it both live on air within my broadcast and also outside of my usual streaming hour. I had lots of fun with many different randomly selected teams. And generally, what you experienced first of all was that Modern Warfare was presenting you with a selection of very, very advanced maps compared to the old game, and we had quite a variety. We could customize everything, we were able to choose different types of matches, and therefore I selected those which I liked the best. Played them a lot, was leveling up rather fast, but my goodness, there were some really experienced players out there. It was very difficult to catch up with them. They were causing us many deaths, and it was all about speed, stealth, aggression, surprise, tactics, all that you need to have if you are an experienced Call of Duty PvP player. And for all of you who are familiar with my setup, you know that I'm not able to get my fibre optic internet at present. Therefore, I'm hampered by very poor upload speed, and for any form of PvP, that's basically a non-starter. It causes many difficulties, and it is preventing me really from being ready to play competitively, or to be able to engage all the enemies. So the lag was not that visible, but very, very present, because the enemies could see me probably between 1 and 2 seconds before I could see them. Also, their shots registered faster. So I really suffered quite a bit, as you could imagine. But to be fair, I did have some good matches, and particularly in those smaller teams, when we're doing raids with 10 people, it was very difficult. But in the matches where we were 2 against 2, or indeed with a few players, I think some of the matches were 6 against 6. I had some really good results. I was quite happy with the activity and all that we were able to see. So I hope you guys also tried beta, because I talked about it quite a bit really during the week, recommending everyone to step in and indeed engage with the gameplay. I mean, every one of us who is a broadcaster is always supporting the developer. We want betas and VIP demos and open demos to be tried early for people to become fully aware of what the project is going to be looking like, and also, most importantly, to enjoy some of the gameplay early for us to become familiar with in-game mechanics. Also, it's a good way of making new friends. People are very excited about trying beta before everyone else. Obviously, some betas have serious problems, and we always have to be very patient on the technical front. And if you are concerned that there's a bit of rubber banding, a bit of lag, frames dropping, it's all part and parcel of beta. But the idea is to give you a very, very good taster, and I'm very encouraged that lots of the mainstream, the biggest developers are offering us betas which are very big. This one had, I think, 45 or 50 gigabytes of download, which was taking me 9 hours on my setup. And I played some other ones, such as The Division 2, and there was Anthem, and there was Monster Hunter World. quite a selection. If we go back in time, we go back about 6 months, and each one of those was really exciting and interesting in a different way. So I had lots of fun. Therefore, I've not been streaming as much of my own games, which obviously Destiny 1 and 2, and in addition to that I have been really focusing on how to organize my broadcast, because as you'd appreciate, I've been streaming 5 to 6 hours a day for a year, and this is very heavy and taxing on my concentration, health, my routine, my schedule and everything else. But I'm very happy with the result. We have established a very good community of dedicated veterans. Most of those have been playing Destiny 1 and 2, but also some senior members of our gaming community, people who play lots of other games, and we have a solid base to carry on into our second year of existence here on Twitch. And therefore I decided to experiment a bit during the anniversary month, which is approaching, fast approaching. It's going to be the 1st of October, and we are going to be trying, well, first of all, like different things in order to bring in maybe some newbies and some people who are still finding a way around to Twitch broadcasts, people who are interested in some other games in addition to Destiny. Destiny obviously being one of the most popular, the game that has attracted an enormous number of followers worldwide. And I think that community is likely to absolutely exponentially grow after the 1st of October, once we get Shadowkeep up and running. On the same day we'll have also the standalone, free of charge game called Destiny New Light, which is basically your Destiny 2 Year 1 edition, offered free of charge with some elements of their annual pass. And I'm not exactly sure how this is going to work, because they've given us different bits of information, but it seems like it is likely to combine some missions from Destiny 1, be it through some characters or some situations, together with the entire Destiny 2 base game and some additional seasonal content. So what better way to get to know the world of our Guardians but by simply jumping in. And everyone who is purchasing the deluxe edition will also get the access to the entire seasonal content for the next 12 months, and will be blessed with 4 rather than 3 seasons in the course of the year 2019-2020. Bungie also released another video to the last 48 hours, which was giving us a bit more of the texture, and we are very excited to see that the moon's been completely reworked, giving us a very, very different world to contest, with many hidden corners, many dreadful enemies and dangerous creatures that will be lurking from every single section of those chasms and caves. And also I would advise you to watch the documentary, which was released last week. I loved it. I thought it was the best possible addition to what we heard from the game director, Luke Smith, who was providing us with lengthy write-ups on all that was to follow, but they abbreviated that into 10 minutes. We got to know the most important novelties, and one of those is completely related to the Crucible and PvP, which is going to be fully reworked with a new concept. And also they want every single quest and the lengthy grind to be tied into the RPG story, i.e. narrative element of the game. And that's a big novelty, because we did not have that until, well, I would say maybe the Forsaken DLC, or maybe even until very recently. But still, when we do these lengthy grinds in Iron Banner and quests which are based on the seasons, we are not having them directly tied to the story. So that's going to be a 180-degree turn for Bungie, and I'm very curious and very excited to see how this is going to be all evolving. I'm very, very glad that they've taken this decision, because my personal preference generally is to be having games that are combining RPG with first-person shooter elements, as well as some fierce action and interesting content. So that for me is going to be bringing it back to Mass Effect and the games that I like the best, Mass Effect trilogy that is, rather than Andromeda, where you have so many different options to pursue. You had a vast quantity of dialogue, really very immersive story with plenty of activities elsewhere in the universe, and I think Destiny is progressing down this road rapidly, so we look forward to that. We have Matthias in here. How are you, sir? Long time no see. How are you doing? Matthias is asking, are you getting Shadowkeep? I will be. I may not be streaming it straight away because of the way the Twitch channels work. but I certainly will be purchasing it and will be doing all the seasonal content. Very excited about all that is to follow from the developer, and particularly of everything we've heard so far, through documentaries and write-ups, all looking very good and exciting. I'm not sure whether you are as excited as myself, as you express some degree of hesitation with some elements of the sequel, but I think considering that we'll have a lot more of that RPG introduced, and there'll be a new concept for PvP as well as for all that we can do during the missions and quests. I think it's a lot to look forward to. It looks like really good value for $50 as well if you buy the deluxe edition, and also I think it's very interesting how they introduced the separate price per season, so people don't have to buy the annual pass if they're, for instance, stranded with the revenue. They can just purchase a separate season, play it, pay $10 for it, and it sounds really good and reasonable. I think visually the new content looks even better to what we've seen so far, and I'm particularly excited and curious to see how they will be bringing in the original and the sequel together, because that's the intention. They're not really laying any cards on the table. We are not sure what the content is likely to be. Some of it may be in new light, but the rest of it will simply follow. I guess the biggest bit of news which has been released over the weekend is that there's going to be no Destiny 3 planning whatsoever for the next 5 years. And I kept saying that to my community members already for months, because a lot of people were simply falling into the trap of listening to the rumours which were fluctuating on the net, and we know full well that the rumours are completely incorrect. And I knew from my discussions with people in the know that we were likely to see expansions within the universe, and the mission is to be building an everlasting universe. So, the additional content, the new missions, the new story, and everything is likely to be introduced as chapters emerging within this world. And that's also a novel concept, and I really applaud Bungie for it. I think it's really, really good. And we are likely to be experiencing many new characters and many new connections between the original and the sequel. We are likely to see also new developments, and they said that the season 4 is likely to be concluding this section of the story, i.e. the chapter, which is just about to unravel. And so it's altogether very exciting, and very, very glad to see that Bungie are pursuing this direction. It does feel like they've gone back to their roots. They've become again a very, very focused on their sort of independent status, which is what we've had previously. Matt is asking me about my mic. Well, actually, I'm using a different setup for the stream. I'm not doing it through my PlayStation, so it is a bit of an experiment. I'm trying a few things here in order to streamline my podcast, because I'm delivering it in a separate format rather than to the gameplay, and that's the new thing. I'm rescheduling and reorganizing and restructuring the channel because I think the format that I've been holding for 12 months is something that's given us very, very good results, but we'll have to have a different structure in order to attract different members of the community. For instance, for the news, I did see that quite a few people who are into heavy-going gaming were not quite keen on listening to our community content and indeed the news, so I'll deliver them in separate installments, and therefore this is delivered on a separate setup. In fact, I've listened to myself earlier. I thought I sounded a lot better and more natural to what happens when I'm doing my PS4 setup, because I find myself sounding a bit strange on it, and that's thanks to my mic and the high quality, very expensive headset which I have, and it's just somehow soaking up every single vowel in a way which doesn't actually come across in real life, and I think I'm sort of sounding a bit better and more real compared to what you get otherwise. But I guess we'll have to see whether the mic setup and everything will have to be also tweaked a bit. It's just an experiment, so I just ask everyone to bear with me for the time being, because it's just a new thing altogether. We'll learn as we go along, and we'll tweak it as necessary. Right, so that's all the news related to the weekend and also to Modern Warfare gameplay and all that we've done. I thought it was very kind for us to be able to try the game in that volume, almost 50 gigs, lots of different missions, very good graphics, very immersive, and the thing is, the maps varied. Some with death matches, really very, very tight maps, and with other areas you had, I guess, a possibility to strategize. But I've got to say to everyone, make sure you're really using a very, very good setup with very fast speeds, because you will get absolutely obliterated if you're playing against people who are on speed of 1000 upload. I played against a variety of players, and sometimes I was in teams where people were quite slow. I either had slow internet, and at other times I was with pro esports players, and it did actually show, both in terms of the knowledge, skill and experience, in terms of the tactics, they were incredibly fast, but also the fact that they could see me and some other guys before we could see them, and therefore sometimes we suffered very, very heavy defeats. But coming back to the game looks beautiful, it plays very well. There weren't many glitches during the beta test, and also the graphics are very immersive, very realistic, so beware. If you are a great fan of tactical shooters, and if you have been already playing lots of other Call of Duty games, I think you're gonna be hooked literally from the word go. Right, so we really need to focus on the news that would have come in over the weekend. And the news will start, well, we have actually some news related to Fortnite and Batman, Project Resistance, Call of Duty Modern Warfare, indeed we can see it on our screen, Code Vein and Borderlands 3. I have to tell you, Code Vein demo is already accessible through PlayStation 4, so if you have a chance, download it and play it, because I don't think it's going to last very long. Definitely worth checking. Looks like absolutely amazing type of game. Really, really keen on trying it and experiencing it in full. But I've got so many games on my list, and what we are going to be doing is we'll do lots of shorter streams, because my channel has been focused on Destiny 1 and 2. Obviously we built our community with those two games, and we play them on average 5 to 6 hours a day. Well, the streams are now going to be run differently. We will have to have a bit of variety, and we'll still have Destiny 2 and Destiny 1 on almost every single stream, but we'll have it in an abbreviated format. It means we'll play a certain kind of activity, be it in PvP or PvE. We'll have a task which we are going to be completing with our community members, and then we'll do some, variety streams. We'll do some extra games, because there are so many interesting games out there, and I actually did hear from people who said, will you play Vampire? Will you do this and that? What's on PlayStation? Will you do some Xbox? And I think in order to branch out to the members of the community, we actually are going to do this. I've got to tell you, I really missed my RPGs and my adventure games during the last year, because I focus on Destiny and playing it literally 24/7, but I've done some RPGs recently outside of my sort of broadcasting hours, and I just realised how much I actually love these games and how differently I feel about actually playing them. I find FPS and shooters to be really adrenaline based. They really kind of wake me up, and I must not be playing them at night, I've got to tell you this as well. So therefore I play them so early in the day, but with adventure games it's a different type of experience, and I'm playing Vampire at the moment. I'd just like to ask Matthias whether you played Vampire. The game really received a very frosty response last year when it came out. It's the developer that also created a beautiful Life is Strange adventure game, which I really adore and admire. And I don't really know what the problem was with them, because it's possible to introduce the 2 difficulty levels at a later stage, because initially it seemed that all the reviews complained that the battle sequences were unmanageable and very easy. They just kind of walked through the game, they couldn't work at the inventory, and the kind of the maps that were there in order to kind of get the XPs and make the character stronger and whatever. But the game's so atmospheric and so beautifully designed, and there's so much attention given to the detail, the history of London. You've got this Bram Stokerish, post-Victorian Dickensian London, embracing the First World War, and the combination of the two actually looks beautiful. It really, when you watch it on a good setup, you really feel that dark and deadly Gothic atmosphere from every single corner, from the Limehouse, Poplar, Whitechapel, all the areas which are kind of, I guess. They become part and parcel of the Jack the Ripper type of legacy of the 19th century, but they just look and feel brilliant, and also the story is very good, the dialogue's very well researched, and I thoroughly enjoyed my gameplay in there. I have to say, already gone to the last chapter, just about to finish it. I'm going to be streaming it here on my channel. Want to introduce people to how good the game is, and I want to make sure that people are not just resorting to those reviews, because loads of reviewers and gaming journalists that don't have much time to play games, and they race through some of them and frequently jump on a bandwagon. So somebody says Borderlands 3 the best FPS ever made, broke all the records for the developer, made lots of money, everyone's doing it at the moment. So they just literally will copy and paste the idea, and I think it's a shame to experience that with games like Vampire, because it's the kind of game that requires painstaking dedication. You need to research the history, you need to create characters, make them look and sound beautiful, you must make them aligned with that kind of period of history, and it all works. I think the dialogue's really good, and considering it's come out of a company based in France, the French produced many beautiful, well-researched games, but this one in particular, I think they originally wanted it to be based in New York, and then the team leaders decided that it's much better if you just bring it back to London, make it really properly kind of Victorian Gothic, although it's not taking place during the Victorian times. You've got this Gothic aura or Victoriana everywhere, the way people are dressed, and it's happening during the First World War, and where you have this massive outbreak of Spanish influenza, and you struggle to survive, and the lead character has been infected by vampirism, so he wants to find out what happened to him and investigate that. And it's interesting because several reviewers said because he's a well-known doctor, everybody wants to play the character as do good. He wants to be saving lives, but the developer wanted you to be really bad. So it's really funny, and it's actually providing us with the option of doing the game several times. So we can do it initially as do goody, and then we can do it as a really bad character, because the outcome is going to be very different, and I'm quite looking forward to test all the difficulty levels. I've gone immediately for the harder difficulty level, but I'm not playing it on the insane. The insane is going to be done when I do the live broadcast. Matt saying that he actually had not tried Vampire. Not sure whether you're subscribed to PlayStation Now services, but there are lots of games out there, and they're literally beefing up and expanding on all that is present through the streaming service. So, if you have a few cents to spare, then definitely worth subscribing, because you can just try all the games and see what they're like. If you like them, play them. If not, just forget. But lots of games. There's about 700 games altogether and expanding, and I've tried quite a great number just to see what they looked like. But Vampire is one of those recent additions, and therefore I really looked forward to it. I wanted to buy it, but the price was still quite high in the local CX, with £25 plus. So similar to what I had with Detroit, I was able to get free of charge there in digital deluxe pack, also with two other games together with it, which were Beyond Two Souls and Heavy Rain. It was an absolutely fantastic pack, and I have to say that two of the best packs I've ever had in video gaming were that one, Detroit, the deluxe pack, and also Destiny 2 Complete Edition, because the content that you get with it is just unbelievable. Honestly, you can just play it for years, and all of that. Detroit for nothing, and Destiny 2 I got for, what was it, $34.99, which I thought was also astonishing. So it's been a good year as far as the acquisitions were concerned, and many more games are likely to follow. So it's all looking very, very good. Right, so I was telling you, we are going to be reading some of the news here, which is Fortnite, Project Resistance, Call of Duty, Code Vein, Borderlands, Montreal tease Batman, and we have some news coming out of Ubisoft, Obsidian. My goodness, we better start with that, because otherwise we'll be here until very, very late. So the first lot of news arriving were related to Fortnite X and Batman. So that would be related to, I think, some of the events they talked about recently. And we hear that the Fortnite X Batman event has already begun, and with it comes a new Rift Zone, items, skins, challenges, and a lot more. So the Batman Arkham Collection and the Lego Batman Trilogy are currently free on the Epic Games Store following leaks from earlier this month that the Caped Crusader crossover will be swooping into the Battle Royale. So suspicions were confirmed when a livestream teasing Fortnite x Batman was dated for Batman Day. And now Fortnite is celebrating the 80th anniversary of the character's appearance in DC Comics. To tell you the truth, today, incidentally, I've gone to my local bookshop, and they have a very, very good selection of comics and graphic novels. And they were given by somebody, it was donated, I think it was like 10 different encyclopedias on the history of DC and Marvel. And these are like beautiful books, which previously would be costing $50 or $60 each. And I was able to, have a look at them. They cost them about £3 or £4 each. All of them in pristine condition, still smelling of, printers. And I guess Batman Encyclopedia and one of those anthology is definitely more than fitting for what is happening with Fortnite. And Batman looks great for everyone really in the game, and you see what he's like to do with his strict diet and exercise regimens, and Batman looks really fit, and all of those billions to buy the best skincare serums in the market. Well, that's the wishful thinking of one of the writers in there. I don't really agree with that. I think he looks very much like a comic strip character, but still very effective. We heard that there's the new Rift Zone, and it's of course in Gotham City. And once you are inside the zone, players will enjoy taking out the Swishly Batman Cowl and the Glider ability for the rather dramatic entrance they've always dreamed of. Batman grapnel gun and explosive batarang also have been confirmed, as well as being a handy getaway tool. The grapnel gun will propel players into the air, so the Batcape is deployed and letting them glide to their next target in style. The explosive batarang is a homing projectile, but if you throw it on the ground, it will become a proximity mine. And you know what? Justice never looks so good. And we also hear that the Batman comic book outfit and the Dark Knight movie outfit are the two Batman variant skins on offer. So that's very exciting for everyone who's been watching these films. There's Bat-themed weapons and items, so not one to be left in the shadows. Catwoman will be another skin available. Bear with me, there's something happening there. There we are. And heroic challenges will unlock rewards from Welcome to Gotham City Challenge Bundle, and that will include also Catwing Glider. So the Fortnite x Batman event lasts until October 6th, it's about 2 weeks altogether. Fortnite is out now for iOS, Android, Xbox One, PC, PlayStation 4 and Nintendo Switch. I have to say I played it quite a bit in Microsoft Store on Oxford Street, on Oxford Circus I should say, and I loved it. It was really great fun, particularly considering that my setup in here is with fast broadband rather than fibre optic, and they have the best setup in Europe in there on Xbox One X and 1000 upload speed. So believe you me, some people here were feeling a lot of pain once encountering me in that arena. The trailer is also live on YouTube. You can also watch it on videogamer.com and on Games Radar and Games Informer if you wish. The easiest way of doing it is just accessing it on YouTube, and it's Fortnite x Batman announced trailer. Right, lots of news related to Batman, my goodness. Let us see, what else do we have there? Project Resistance is the next lot of news. And I must admit, I watched the trailer and it was quite appealing. It did have an aura of Resident Evil, one way or the other, I thought. But, we'll have to see how it evolves. Certainly very, very appealing trailer, and it was introduced about 4 or 5 days ago. I've seen it premiered on PlayStation Twitter. So they said Project Resistance will get a single-player story mode and some new survivors. So Project Resistance, Capcom's newest Resident Evil title. Well, there you go. I thought it looked like Resident Evil, but actually it is Resident Evil. I mean, this puts me to shame, right? This will be playable as a single-player story-driven experience as well as a multiplayer co-op game. And we've heard that through PlayStation Blog. It drew criticism from Resident Evil fans who were expected Project Resistance to be the next co-installment to the classic horror series, but instead Project Resistance is an asymmetric survival game that pits 4 survivors against one omniscient mastermind. The survivors must use their unique abilities to disrupt the iron grip the mastermind has on the Umbrella research facility, and also to work together to fight undead creatures and solve puzzles to escape. The mastermind will watch them from the shadows through the building security cameras, and spending Umbrella credits on enemies like lickers and zombie dogs. The mastermind will hunt down the survivors remotely and will be able to turn all the lights off and lock the doors for old school scares. But if the mastermind is strategic, they will not show their hand until it's too late and deploy the ultimate threat, which is Mr. X. So the version that they showed at TGS 2019 was an online game mode, but the developer said, "We are fully aware that the game, that there are many of that there are many Resident Evil fans that expect a story in the game." So he said, in an effort to satisfy our fans, we'll have an offline mode that is focused on the narrative component. Additionally, he revealed that there will be new masterminds and new survivors coming to the game in the future. There are many variations of the mastermind. The same goes for the survivors, and there are no more survivors. There are more survivors with unique skills and looks that we are planning to add into the game. Kabata added. So, well, if anyone had concerns about Project Resistance, I think they're just simply non-existent, because indeed we are likely to be getting the very best of content, just as we assumed. Bear with me, I've got a bit of a problem here with my display. I need to see what's happening. I can't see anything on display, just bear with us. Hopefully it is going to work. It's a new setup, so you have to be a bit patient with me. Hopefully you're able to hear me. And right, so principally we are not sure when Project Resistance is set to release, because the game is still in development, but a closed beta for Project Resistance will be held from October the 4th to October the 7th on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. So that's something I might be interested in. Need to put it in my diary. Right, let's see what other news have arrived overnight. We have more news related to Call of Duty Modern Warfare. So, multiplayer leaks are showing fan favorite maps, which we believe may be returning. A list of over 55 maps were found from the open beta. Well, that was not the case on my setup. I certainly did not find those. I was playing probably about 12. Data miners have been hard at work digging around in the Call of Duty Modern Warfare PC beta files, and they found a list of over 55 maps for its multiplayer modes, with some sharing titles with popular maps from previous Call of Duty games. That came all to us via Game Rant. Call of Duty Modern Warfare is one of the most anticipated games of the year, I'd say probably of the decade, and although it claims... what's happening in there? And although it had... I beg your pardon, I've got some problems in here with my connection, so I needed to make sure that all was going to be indeed full in order. So, although it claims to be a return to the serious elements of the series, there have been some interesting additions to its multiplayer, like a Tamagotchi that feeds and kills. Call of Duty Modern Warfare multiplayer is started to be the ultimate multiplayer playground, with new night modes, 100 player matches, and the return of kill streaks. But thanks to BG Source's data miners, that might not be the only feature that's going to be returning to the new game. So they've found a list of 2 vs 2 gunfight maps, and a few of those have been announced by Activision and Infinity Ward before, such as Docks, King, Pine Speedball and Stack. According to the files, there will also be maps called Cargo and Showers, and a night mode version of King. I assume Showers refers to rainy days and will not have combatants speeding around a block of showers on a camping site which indeed would be hazardous, says the reviewer of Video Gamer, who was indeed throwing in some puns in here. An exhaustive list of maps available for general multiplayer was leaked, and it seems to say that maps from previous Call of Duty games could return in amongst new maps that had not been officially confirmed by developer nor publisher. Shipment and Terminal are included, which share titles with the maps from Call of Duty 4 and Modern Warfare 2, respectively. These maps were incredibly popular back in the day, so their reappearance has instigated intrigue. These could be revamps of the previous maps and would encourage those who were on the fence about 2019's Modern Warfare to join the excitement. So in addition to Subbase and Rust from Modern Warfare 2 are counted among the other 43 maps on the leaked list. This must be, I guess, disregarded because Infinity Ward has not commented on the discovered maps, and it's possible that these were contained within the files for beta testing purposes. However, assets for Rust have already been uncovered in Call of Duty Modern Warfare, which could mean that Rust would be one of the first to arrive in the game. Otherwise, it's still unconfirmed whether all these maps will be coming to the game and when that indeed will be. So as you know, Call of Duty Modern Warfare is out on October 25th for PC, PS4 and Xbox One, and I thoroughly enjoyed my beta gameplay during the weekend. Certainly hoping that you've done exactly the same, and that you tried it, and that you hammered it, and that you enjoyed it, and that you played it on a better system to what I have here, because guess what, if not, then you perhaps were killed a few times. Code Vein demo is accessible instantly on PlayStation 4, so download it to your console and indeed try it. I remember that we talked about it at some point, and I really want to make sure that you are trying this wonderful new game. So most highly recommend it, easily accessible. Just head to either the section on demos, or you can, I think, probably go to PlayStation Store search and then have it through there as well. So we hear that you can get a free copy of Code Vein if you donate blood at Bandai Namco's Blood Bank to be held over the TwitchCon weekend. PC Gamer said that. I'm not sure whether this is a joke or this is real. This is unconfirmed. PC Gamer reported this, but I would be very surprised if indeed that was to be the true statement kind of thing. It's probably a joke, but people picked it up on wires and thought that Bandai Namco were going to do that sort of thing, and I think that's just complete nonsense. If not, then email me and let me know, because obviously I'll be turned to shame, and that's the way it needs to be if indeed they were giving those games for free for anyone who was a blood donor. I'm having some problems here with that stream. I think my bandwidth is suffering because I have 6 devices connected to it, and unless you have fiber, that doesn't work. So really annoying. Hopefully the picture is as good as it should be. I don't really know. Hopefully you can hear me. So only the most normal sentences are to be presented in these reviews, the reviewer says, and it's a bit strange that Code Vein is like Dark Souls but with anime vampires, and they said that these types are trapped in the world of Vein, which is an apocalyptic purgatory for revenants, and he said, well, that's rather difficult because they're all focused on escaping that miserable limbo. But Bandai Namco have not gone all what we do in the shadows on us. It's in fact a blood drive for the American Red Cross, which is not only thematic but helps an excellent cause too. And donors will get a free copy of Code Vein for the good deed. Well, there you go. It must be that this is happening, just myself jumping the gun and labeling it already as a rumor. And they said that the blood drive will be held on September the 27th in San Diego, close by to TwitchCon. So if you are attending the convention, you know that you could spare a pint of blood, then obviously you can sign up, and the game is going to be released on September 27th, which is in a few days, and that's going to be for PC, Xbox One and PlayStation 4. Some really good news related to the game. So we've heard that Borderlands 3 broke the records as the fastest selling title in 2K Games history. 2K Games has announced that Borderlands 3 sold over 5 million units in the first 5 days after its launch, earning it the title of the fastest selling game in the publisher history. and its highest-selling title for PC. It seems like fans were literally very excited, and they really want to get their hands on the next game as soon as possible, as Borderlands 3 sold 50% more copies than Borderlands 2 in 2012. So the third installment achieved the best numbers in Gearbox history on its launch weekend, with Gearbox CEO Randy Pitchford stating that its launch day peak concurrent players was approximately double that of the all-time peak concurrent player statistics of Borderlands 2 of the sequel. In other words, the press release said that the game has exceeded the label's expectations, and in spite of the initial backlash, sales of the title through the Epic Games Store have been incredibly strong. Success does not stop there. Borderlands 3 secured the highest pre-order sales figures for ever for a 2K Games title and smashed pre-order records with the Epic Games Store. 70% of sales were digital. It produced 14 million hours of gameplay viewed on Twitch, and the franchise net bookings are now over 1 billion. Well, these are staggering figures. To consider that this was all completed in 3 to 4 days is absolutely mind-blowing. And I keep saying to people who are still disregarding video game industry as something serious, we are talking about some very serious revenue and very major investments coming from various quarters. And also, let's not forget, we have 2.5 billion gamers worldwide who are engaging with video games on an everyday basis, and that itself is simply astonishing. So no wonder that people want to be jumping in and playing against other guys in PvP, because this is where the excitement is. And as we've seen with Borderlands, with Call of Duty, with Gears of War 5, these are the most popular sections of the game. The sections where indeed you have people playing against other gamers and exercising their own abilities, skills, and language, I must admit, because some of those games are very pleasant to join. Others perhaps less so, particularly if you play Call of Duty. You will be very familiar with what happens out there when things go south. And I switched off the sound on my participants for the entire weekend because I had no patience to listen to what's being said. I just focused on the gaming, of course. And the numbers looked very good for Borderlands 3, but countless players have struggled to get Borderlands 3 on fine form because there were some major performance issues plaguing every platform. And we've heard that PS4 Pro and Xbox One X versions struggle to maintain targeted frame rates in both resolution and performance mode, and PS4 and Xbox Ones could barely reach 30 FPS. Powerhouse PC players did not escape either, with some reports of continual crashes and corrupted saves, and bugs like intense menu lag, disappearing quest markers, multiplayer issues, and all kinds of issues related to freezing. Gearbox published the Borderlands 3 troubleshooting and optimization guide in response to offer temporary fixes while it works on permanent solutions. Borderlands 3 is out now for PC, PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, as you know, released last week. Let's see what else is there in stock for us. We have two more lots of news. One is related to WB, Warner Brothers Montreal. So let us see what they have to say. They say Warner Brothers Montreal teased that Batman could be back with the Court of Owls. Batman Arkham Origins developer Warner Brothers Games Montreal posted a video with 3 teaser images that seem to hint the Court of Owls project is the next adventure for our favorite character. September the 21st is Batman Day, and it was the 80th anniversary of the Dark Knight's first comic book appearance this year. So many people were celebrating this, and even Fortnite has a crossover event occurring in honor of Bruce Wayne and Selina Kyle. We talked about it earlier today, and indeed it was present in our last video game industry broadcast as well. And Warner Brothers Games Montreal posted a simple but understated tribute to the character on its official Twitter account. So if you're interested, just head to Twitter of Warner Brothers and you'll be able to see it there. but it wasn't all as it seemed. In the uneventful clip focusing on the bat signal, there are 3 glitchy images that appear only for a fraction of a second. One of these images references the Court of Owls, a violent cabal of Gotham City's oldest and wealthiest families, whose nefarious deeds keep the cogs of the city spinning. So Scott Snyder, the creator of the Court of Owls, cryptically quote-tweeted and said for the video, "Wait for it, and beware the Court of Owls." I beg your pardon. It seems that Snyder let the bat out of the bag and then he deleted the tweet, so it was a bit of a leak which was not expected. And they've been working on this latest project for some time, and they kept the details under the wraps. So all that was confirmed is that it's based on a DC Comics property, and members of the development team were seen to be displaying a t-shirt with an owl emblem on it in 2018. So with the Court of Owls, the next Batman game could very well be a sequel to Arkham Knight, because Dick Grayson is linked with a faction in the comics. Grayson's Batman would be a new direction in the series, as well as provide opportunity for the games and comics